It still sort of blows my mind. I can't believe it, if I'm being honest. I can't believe that they agreed to do it. Like, both of them agreed to. Like, Trump and Biden are going to debate. They both agreed to debate. This was crazy about them debating. We know how we feel. Like, it's weird that both of them were like, you know what'll do it? You know what'll lock it up? If I talk one more time. That's what the people want, you know what I mean? They want to see me at the booth. That's what. No, it feels crazy. There will be, I can only tell you this. It's months away, I'm sure. But whenever it happens, the only loser will be us. We will. Both those dudes are gonna talk and interrupt. It's gonna be a hell show, and then everyone's gonna walk away like their dude won. And I do my best to be honest with you and be honest with myself. It does make me nervous, and I think everybody's nervous. I think all parties involved are nervous. You know, I'm nervous for Biden to debate because I'm nervous when Biden talks. Don't be like that, you know. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is the best way I can relate it. Because Biden starts sentences ambitious. The way I relate to how Biden talks is when I first moved to Chicago, right? I didn't have much. And I moved, and I really wanted to clear my head because I was overwhelmed with the move, right? And I was like young, but I was still scared. I didn't feel like I knew enough people to really have like a support system or anything. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna learn the area. I'm just gonna go for a walk, and without my phone. I don't want to be in my phone. I want to learn the neighborhood. I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna clear my head. So then I left my phone at the apartment, and I just went for a walk. And it felt good. It felt genuinely great to just not have people texting me, not be getting notifications on my phone, not get distracted from anything by my phone, and just look at what a beautiful city I had just moved to. And the weather was nice. Y'all would have appreciated it. It was very sunny. All the white people were smiling at me. It was, you know, black people too, but just there's a certain, I don't know. And, you know, after a while, you know, 10, 20 minutes, I don't know. I didn't have my phone. So I don't know how much time had passed, but I got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm feeling good. I feel better. Let's go back. And I turned around and I was like, uh-oh. Because I had just moved to a new city, and I knew my address, but I didn't know much else. I don't know how many lefts I took. Like, I was just sort of following the sunlight. I was letting them lead me, and then, you know, now I'm like, uh-oh. And so it took quite a while. It took a much longer walk than I anticipated for me to get back home, and that's what every sentence Biden says feels like. It feels like, because you can see when he ready. When those first two words in, it's like when somebody try to run and they can't really run, because it's like he start off hard, and then by the middle, you can see in his eyes, he's like, oh, where was I? And then by the end of the sentence, he's like, I think I stuck it. You know, so I'm nervous for Biden to talk. And I know Trump's team is nervous for him to talk, not just because this debate is going to have certain stipulations, like they're going to cut his mic if he goes over time. There's all this stuff. I think that genuinely Trump's team is like, he's finally going to say it. We've managed to go 9 years without him saying it, but he gonna slip. He gonna say it. I don't think it'll even be in like reference to black people. He just gonna say it. But he gonna be talking about fruit or something, like even racist people will be like, huh. That's not how I use it. He's so creative. I will say, people go on and on about Trump being racist. That man is way more weird than he is racist. Trump's racism is like here. His weirdness is top notch. Because, I got to watch a lot of the news. For work, I have to watch a ton of news. I have to watch not everything because it's not humanly possible, but I have to watch things over again. I have to go back. I've watched so many of his rallies, right? I've watched a ton of rallies. And he has a thing at his rallies where it feels like a wrestling match. I can understand why people enjoy going. I do. I get it. Because it's politics for sport. You know when to boo. You know when to cheer. It's theater, right? And he is good at it. We'd be delusional to pretend that he's not good at it, right? But every once in a while, even he won't know what should be next. I was watching this rally where I think he was going on immigration, then he was going on finances and Wall Street and stuff, and then out of nowhere he just started talking about the water pressure in America. And you could tell people who had just been cheering were like, yeah, oh, yeah, I guess. Nah, I mean, he's not wrong. I have felt that too. I felt like this man was railing about immigration, and out of nowhere he's like, there's no the shower don't hit. The toilets don't flush where you want them to flush. It take 3 flushes. This man literally was like, it take 3 flushes. What are we doing, people? The washing machine doesn't get the stains out. It really was this political thing that quickly turned into how his day was going. And honestly, it's the most relatable he's ever been to me. Because I was like, nah, he not wrong. Sometimes when you at a hotel, it does drip on you. And you're like, nah, I need power. I need that masseuse setting in the shower. Yeah. Look. This has bothered me for a long time, and I know nobody cares because it's barely topical anymore, but there's a case against Trump, one of many, right? There's a case against Trump with the classified documents. Now, a lot of people say that it's going to get thrown out. A lot of these are probably going to get thrown out, right? But the classified documents case, I don't have proof. I like to think I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but for real, I don't have proof. So what I'm telling you is me just talking to y'all because we're friends, okay? So I'm just telling you what I think. I'm not telling you that the prosecutor can even pull him up on this. I'm just saying that this is what I think, right? So the classified document, he basically, in case you don't know, took a lot of documents with him when he left the White House, right? And they went to Mar-a-Lago and retrieved a bunch of them. And they were in all sorts of different rooms. They were in the closet. Some of them were in the bathroom. There's all this stuff like that. Now, the speech that he gave, the rally he gave that I was talking about before, was towards the end of his presidency. And I think this is what I think happened. He started bringing up the water pressure. I'm pretty sure he tried to flush documents that day. Before the rally, they were like, Mr. President, we have to go. We have to go. We're going to be late. And he's like, he read something that didn't seem good. Everybody jokes he can't read. The man can read. He probably read it and was like, this one. And then he flush it, and because it's printer paper, it doesn't go down like toilet tissue. So then after the third flush, it's not going down. He's like, this country is doomed. All right, this should have been gone down. And so then when they went to Mar-a-Lago and there were all the documents stocked up to the ceiling in the bathroom, people were like, why were there documents in the bathroom? I think that those were unflushed documents. I think that... I don't have any proof of what I'm saying. Take it all with a grain of salt. We're here to have fun. But no, I do think Trump's team is a bit nervous because the agreement for the debate had like very specific stipulations that like some people saying were fair, some people were saying were deeply unfair and everything. But a lot of it just doesn't play to what Trump is good at. You know what I mean? Trump is good with a crowd and they didn't want to have a crowd, stuff like that. And I don't know. As much as I, pick on Biden about talking, Trump has his stuff too. Like I remember that time he tried to say origins. In case you haven't seen the clip, it's phenomenal. Basically, it's rough because I'm not even kidding. I'm being real with y'all for a second. I did feel bad for him in that moment because you can tell he know the word. You can tell he trying to say orange, or he's trying to say origins, and he keeps saying oranges, but he doesn't mean to. It's like when you keep texting the same auto-corrected word and you don't mean to. You know what I mean? Like your friend texts you something crazy and you try to text back like, fuck, and then you end up texting back duck, and then you text duck again. And then you text duck one more time. And then you get upset, so you just text damn it. Like, that's... Because he knew the word. He really did. He was like, the oranges of it. And you can tell he got a little embarrassed because he know he on TV and everything, and so he tries to back up. He's like, the oranges. The oranges. It was like watching somebody with their phone but in his mouth. He was like, and I was also like, he needed to tell his mouth to act right because I can tell his brain knows the word because he kept saying oranges. He's like, the oranges, the beginnings. Where it starts, the oranges, the One thing I wish we would have got more of, because it was spectacular to watch, was a real, Trump versus DeSantis. We didn't really get it. You know what I mean? Like Trump just started smoking him off his swag, and then DeSantis dropped out. But I want them to go. I want them to debate. That's what I want to see. That's what the world needs. Those two debating, getting at it, and not about policy or anything, because honestly, they both have shots for each other that would go harder than Kendrick and Drake. Trump and DeSantis in a debate, all Trump has to do is, do his thing. I'm the president you love, and then DeSantis can just be like, well, I served in the military. Where were you? There was one roast that Trump got in on DeSantis that was particularly spectacular. It was fire, right? Because everybody was making fun of DeSantis for wearing heels because we couldn't tell if he was wearing heels or not because he always was like, his height is weird. There's pictures where he's next to people and he's taller than them, and then there's pictures where he's next to other people who are the same height as the other people he was taller than, and he's the same height as them. So people were like, he's wearing platform shoes, he's got to be. And then Trump, ooh, it was cold. It's one of the coldest things I've seen him do in a long time. So Trump was explaining the shoes out of nowhere at a rally for no reason. Nobody said anything. He was talking about infrastructure. He was talking about how bad Biden is. And then out of nowhere, he was like, and have you seen DeSantis' shoes? They're weird. When he said they're weird, I paused, and I went and popped some popcorn. Because I was like, he's about to light him up. And then this clip did not get passed around as much as it should have, but basically he was describing the shoe, and he was like, you can't tell it's a platform shoe because it's a heel inside. Trump has trouble with the word origins, but he roasted this man so articulately. He was like, no, there's a platform within the shoe, so it looks flat at the bottom, but up top, he's on his tiptoes, and you can tell when he walks. I'm not even kidding, Trump did this. You can tell when he walks because he goes like this. Wow. Wow. That's my main thing with the debate, too. Biden versus Trump debating. Again, we didn't get anything out of the last one that they did, you know what I mean? And I just think, okay, I do think it would be funny if, remember, we're here to have fun. It would be funny to be cool. It would be funny to me if during the debate, one of them died. Like that was, like that's... I see some of y'all, no. We're here to have fun. We're here to have fun. Don't do that. No. Cut it out. You know that it is, because these are very old men. They're both so old, they both used to be president. Like, yes. Do you know how old you have to be to used to be? The job you don't get until you're 70? That would be very funny if mid-debate one of them just tip and die. And then the other one's like, I rest my case.
You guys are so wonderful. Are y'all ready for your headliner? Y'all start clapping right now. Give it up for Josh Johnson.
I don't know if y'all saw everything that's happening with Tesla either. That's crazy stuff. Okay, so basically, if you're not aware, Tesla is an electric vehicle that, you know, rewind just a couple of years, was not a political statement at all. It was a car you could buy or not buy. It was just a car on the market that had some stock, and the stock would go up and go down and go up and go down. And then, you know, Elon Musk decides to get involved with politics and gives anywhere from like $250 to I think maybe $270 million to Trump's campaign. And then Trump wins and Elon becomes the president. And so Elon becomes the president, and people don't really know how to feel because this particular thing hasn't happened before. There's always been like millionaires and billionaires donating to campaigns and stuff like that, but this is the most like infused a person has been in like what's gonna happen, and it's very clear in what is self-serving when it comes to like Elon's actions and everything. And so then, you know, inauguration day comes and there's all the fanfare of like this new administration is starting. And there are some people who own Teslas already, like they bought theirs in 2022. And they would tell people, hey, I bought mine in 2022. Like, I don't... Just so you know, I got mine in 2022. I didn't know, and I wasn't a part of it. And I was trying to get an electric vehicle to help the environment. I didn't know it would be. So, just so you know about me. And then Elon's giving a speech, and then he says, my heart goes out to you. And then he does like a full-on Nazi salute, right? And does it again, for clarity. And there is a part of me that genuinely, when someone buys something, especially something expensive, and then something happens with that company, a part of me does feel for them, because there are people who bought their Tesla in 2022. They might have been sitting in their Tesla when they saw Elon do a Nazi salute, like... now you sitting here, you gotta lease this car. I don't know if y'all saw, but Trump released the JFK files, or at least is starting to release the JFK files, and yeah, it's a lot. He said there's like 80,000 pages or something. I think they've released like anywhere from like 2 to 20,000 already, with more to come and stuff. And I don't know about anybody else, but when it comes to JFK and the conspiracies around his death, those were like some of the first moments that you saw, for at least a wide population of Americans, trust in government and its agencies break. A trust that they've never got back since, where like whole government agencies don't have the trust of the people, because up until then, you know, maybe they classified things, maybe they told the public lies or whatever, but they were things that people felt like they could at least get on with life believing. You know, JFK was the first thing for a lot of people that spawned the real like tinfoil hat stuff, what aren't they telling us sort of thing. And so you would see something like this big release of the files, you know, 20,000 with like 60,000 more to come. And it's kind of crazy that everyone sees that and they're like, nah, I'm good. 80,000 pages? I don't think JFK cares that much. That's 80,000 pages. Game of Thrones isn't 80,000 pages. 80,000 pages is insane. What are you doing? You know, it's like the thing is full. It's full. I've read some of it, and it's full of things that are snapshots of the time that JFK was assassinated in, but they aren't things that people were looking for. When people talk about files that they want released, they're talking about things that probably have been destroyed forever, like the some of the autopsy files, some of the coroner's notes, all that stuff like that is not in what's been released. What's been released are the goings on of like Cuba, Mexico City, USSR, and everything. And the one thing that we did find out for sure through the release of the files is that the CIA had a much bigger file and much more knowledge of Lee Harvey Oswald than we previously thought. And they had been tracking his movements and everything. He had been going to these different countries. I'm pretty sure he went to Mexico City for a little bit, and then he went to the USSR. And I don't know if the word is defect, but he basically was trying to leave the U.S., become an expat and join USSR, and even tore up his passport and everything. And the USSR was like, oh, nah. Nah, we good. That's crazy to me. That's someone, you have a CIA file on you and you're trying to move to the USSR, and they are like, you giving off some bad vibes. Like, I don't know what it is, but you creeping everybody out. Like, you stare too much, dog. Like, what are you looking at when you looking over here? It's unsettling. Just take that somewhere else. And so then he came back somehow. Didn't seem like he had a problem coming back, even though he tore up his passport. And then commits the assassination, and then Jack Ruby kills Lee Harvey Oswald. And there were so many people who thought that Jack Ruby's mob ties meant that he was sort of there to close up loose end, that maybe the mob did it. And even now, there are people that say, oh no, the mob did it, Cuba did it, Soviets did it. I think that when you're going through all these pages and you're reading this stuff that we're learning about how much the CIA and the FBI actually knew and didn't do anything, it doesn't really surprise me. It doesn't do much for me in the way of a revelation. And it's probably just because, because I'm black. You get me? As a black guy, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, not the CIA. You mean to tell me the CIA? Next, you gonna be talking about the FBI. Guys, no, not at all. Because that's the thing. That's what trips me up too. Is all these pages are getting released. There are things that were released during Trump's first administration that were redacted pretty heavily, and then they've been re-released, not redacted, right? Or just one line redacted. So much so that there are people that are actually mad at Trump because they're like, that some of that stuff, some of those people are still alive. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And so then, you know, you'll have like one little line that's redacted, and you'll have someone obsess over that specific line because it's not finding the truth for them. It's about keeping the conspiracy going, you know? Because you'll even see, they uploaded it to the archives. You can check it out in the archives right now. They uploaded everything they've uploaded so far, in my opinion, they've done pretty badly. I think they just had a scanner and they were like, he said today, so... I know it's crooked. I know it's crooked. I know it's crooked. He said today. I know. Honestly, I looked at some of the files. Some of it, some of the handwriting in some of the notes, whether it's written by a CIA agent or like some politician, some of the notes in there are so bad. Like the handwriting is so bad. I'm like, he did it. Like that's suspicious as hell handwriting. Little thing, little line will be redacted. Oh, that's what they don't want you to see. That's where all the truth is. It's like, look, maybe. I'm not even saying that's not possible. Maybe, but also. Maybe it's just like an address that makes sure that a person who has nothing to do with this doesn't get implicated. You know, there are all types of reasons to redact something. And it's when people put that much weight on the thing to keep the whole thing going that I'm like, you don't want to know. You want to keep guessing, you know? And don't get me wrong, it's fun to guess. I love guessing. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Sometimes I'm just guessing. You know? Best way I can describe it is I'm a fight fan. So I watch boxing, I watch MMA and stuff like that. And I watch men's fights, I watch women's fights, and I just kind of follow the fighter and follow their journey and enjoy who I enjoy because I like the person. I like their story, right? And there was this young woman. I do not know if she is from Brazil. I think she is because I'm pretty sure she was speaking Portuguese, and she only speaks Portuguese. She doesn't speak English. So after fights, when someone wins, especially if they don't speak the language, they will do the post-fight interview right there. And they might do another press conference later, but they'll do the post-fight interview. And if they do not speak the language, someone will come out, a translator for the promotion will come out. And in this case, her translator was her coach. So she wins the fight, and it's big. It's the biggest fight that she's won of her career. It puts her in the rankings and everything. And so the announcer walks up, and he's like, "Congratulations on a fantastic fight. Was this win mean to you? It's sort of putting you on the map right now against such a tough opponent." And she speaks for like 8 seconds, and then her coach goes, "Thank you so much, everybody, for watching my fight. I really appreciate it. I worked really hard, and thank you so much for the love." And then she speaks for another 8 seconds, and the coach is like, "Everything that I do, I'm doing for y'all at home from my town to show you that no matter what, where you're from, you can make it on the world stage." And then the announcer asks her, what are your future plans? What's next for you? You know, now that you're in the rankings, there's a certain opponent you want to call out. And she speaks even shorter this time for like 6 seconds. And then her coach is like, "Yeah, the next plans are anybody who wants it, all right? I'm taking heads, I'm taking necks. I want your limbs, give me your arms, give me your legs. If I see you on the street, it's already on, you already know. The best thing you could do is drop out of the division right now, because I'm coming for all y'all's necks. I'm killing everybody, all right? You're gonna dream about me, and then when you wake up, I'm gonna be there. That's on God, okay? I'm killing all of y'all. None of y'all can stop me. None of y'all can touch me. What I did to her was a mercy killing. I'm coming to kill y'all for real. I want your bodies, okay? I'm stacking bodies, all right? And the champ, I'm going to beat the champ, and I'm going to beat the brakes off the champ in her hometown. She's going to bleed in front of her people, okay? And then they exited the octagon. They went ahead and left, and then there was a fighter, because, you know, fighters watch other fighters' fights, and they'll live tweet it, and he tweeted right after that whole thing. She ain't say all that. And I'm not gonna lie, that's what those redacted lines feel like to me sometimes, where I'm just like, yeah, look, maybe the whole truth is in the one sentence, but maybe it's in the 80,000 pages that nobody feels like reading. Because Trump said he was gonna release JFK files, and he slowly released them over time, I guess. And then there were people that were like, well, why don't you release the Epstein files? The Epstein files are what we want. That's what we're actually focused on. Why won't you release the Epstein files? Is it because you actually knew Epstein? Is it because you might be implicated? Is it because you were on the flight logs? Why won't you release the Epstein files? All right, and then he does release the Epstein files, but what he does is he releases a bunch of files that were already released like last year, and then redacts some of them to make them look like they're newly half redacted files. And then people called it online immediately. They were like, no, that's not, this isn't it at all. And then even the people who were like showing it off and like, look at this transparency, then they got mad because they were like, you made us look like idiots. We thought you were releasing stuff you hadn't released before. And so then people called again, why aren't you releasing the Epstein files? So if you're Trump, you know, you're probably sitting here, the only thing you can do is release the Epstein files and hope it's 100,000 pages. Who would have known the only distance between people and getting to the truth was reading? You know what I mean? We want to know. We as a people have the right to know. It's 80,000 pages. I'm gonna wait till the movie come out. But what are you gonna do? You know, Elon's the president. We know he's the president because, first of all, he tell everybody to report to him, sending whole government employees emails, tell me everything you did. It's like, isn't some of that classified? Like, it's wild. You stand in the Oval Office talking about what we're doing. It's like, who is we? Got your son in there. That's how you could tell Trump not the president. Got Elon's son rubbing his boogers on him. I've had a lot of jobs and a lot of bosses, and no boss's child has ever rubbed boogers on me. I will quit before I let your child rub boogers on me. Elon is the face of Tesla, and he's also the face of Doge, this department that's been cutting all these government jobs and gutting a lot of government programs and everything. And I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of people across the political spectrum about Doge, about their actions, and from the time it started to present, right? So some people are like, oh yeah, it's a little bit much now that we're very much on its side. There are some people that still don't see a problem. There's some people that hate it from the very beginning. But one thing that I have not come across, and I only speak for myself, I'm not talking about I can't speak for the entirety of the internet. One thing I've come across is that there is no one who I have come across that says that there's no waste in the government and that they don't want to get to the bottom of what can be saved or what can be put to better use somewhere else. I think that's what generally everybody would want. If you pay your taxes and then you see where money's being wasted, it's like, oh, we have so many people who need that money in other departments, just move it over to them or give it back to the people or whatever the thing is. I don't think people inherently are upset about the idea that there's waste in the government. I know people that work in the government, they're like, this is a little waste. And so all of it comes down to what you cut and how you do it. That's it, top to bottom. That's the only thing anybody could really have a problem with, what you cut and how you do it, right? And I'll be vulnerable for a second. I'll admit to you right now, I've worked jobs. I've worked jobs where I was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody, but like, they really don't need me. Like, as long as they paying, I'll keep showing up, but like... And you end up seeing what happens. Because the thing with whether it's voters or whether it's like rhetoric around how to handle this stuff, there are people who even now genuinely believe, oh, let's get a business person. Let's get someone who's good at business in government so they can run the government as efficiently as they run their business, right? And the problem there is that, like, let's say Amazon, a good example is like, let's say Amazon makes a mistake. And they make a mistake that all of us, everyone here, can acknowledge and see as a mistake. And so as a mistake, their stock drops because they lose some of the faith from their shareholders. Now, we see that drop in the stock, and maybe the mistake they make is they announce that all the cars from now on gonna have 3 wheels. Like, oh, we're gonna save so much money on tires. And we're like, no, you're gonna flip over, okay? And so then you see the stock start to dip because of that lack of confidence. And then for you as a potential investor, even a retail investor, that dip in the stock is an opportunity. You can buy in now. You can buy into that dip, and then when it goes back up, because they realize that 4 is probably best, that you can ride that wave on up. Fair enough. When you crash out a business, when you make mistakes in business, when you run a poor business, you can always start another business. The people who we even look up to as these beacons of industry were all people at some point who had a failed business, right? But the government is not a business, because if you crash out the government, if you make the same mistakes with the government, you don't have a country. And you can't just be like, no, we're just gonna start new America. You know, I used to have like a lemonade stand America, and that one didn't really work out, so I started like a tire shop America, and that still really wasn't it. So then I started this hedge fund America, and now we're cooking. It does not work that way. And you saw what happened. You saw Elon run the government because he's the president. You saw Elon run the government the way he ran his business. When Elon took over Twitter, right? He comes into Twitter and he immediately starts firing everybody because he's like, you're waste, you're redundant, I don't know what you do, I don't know what that is, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And then a couple days after he took over, remember that brief period where he was like, how do you turn it on? And then someone who still worked there, who he didn't fire, was like, oh, you fired the dude who turned it on. Yeah, you asked me for a list of people to fire. I'm not going to put my name on the list. So And so you see, you end up seeing Elon firing people and then trying to like hire them back real quick and trying to like smooth over the things that he broke that didn't need breaking, you know? And then Doge ends up working the same way. It ends up swooping in and firing a bunch of people and then trying to hire some of them back real quick. And It's chaos. And Elon is the face of it. He's the face of it because we didn't know who else was working in Doge. We didn't know who was essentially like hacking into Social Security, who was going around judges' orders, who was breaking things and going to places they weren't supposed to be because we hadn't figured out how this whole thing was going to work. We didn't know. And then we found out. We found out that it was children. We found out they leaked the photos of those people that were high up in Doge that were getting into Social Security and the IRS and everything. And we were like, what? Fresh out of school, I saw one kid's picture who was like high up in Doge doing all the breaking in and stuff. And I was like, Peter Parker? I cannot believe that Spider-Man gonna cut off my grandma's Social Security. So I don't think anyone saying like there's no waste, but it's what you cut and how you cut it. You know, I think people would have appreciated like an actual audit. They said that they did one, but usually when you do an audit and you really account for the waste and you really account for what jobs you do and don't need, you don't have to hire anybody back. You know? The amount of people that they fired and then tried to immediately rehire shows that they're not actually being as careful as they should be with the process. Because I'll tell you right now, everyone that has ever fired me stood firm in their decision. I've never been fired and then somebody ran out after me. Hold on. That's my bad. I was wild. I was trying to look good in front of the other employees. You come on back in here. That has never happened. Anyone who has ever fired me has never called me again. But then Elon is the face of it. People don't know what to do. They don't know what to do to express their anger and their disappointment, their frustration about this unelected person gutting these government programs. And you see where people, it's not just like a one-sided thing. It's not just like a liberal thing. You know, there are people who are like, I voted for Trump. I believe in what Doge is doing, but then I'm told that I'm being cut because of bad performance, even though I'm holding right here a performance review for like a month before the election where they said that I was doing great, you know? And so then people across the political spectrum are going to the town halls and they're complaining to the representatives, and the representatives, they're not really hearing them out. They're not really backing them up. So there's even more frustration, and it's bubbling up, and it's bubbling up. And he's the face of two things. He's the face of Doge, and he's the face of Tesla. And so then people go to the Tesla dealership, and he's not there. But people go to the Tesla dealership and they start protesting at the Tesla dealership, and then the stock starts tanking because there are people that are like, being attached to this right now is not a good look, you know? And then people start vandalizing Tesla, start putting swastikas on the Teslas and stuff like that. And then there are people who, you know, bought a Tesla in 2022. They're like, guys, I didn't know. I had no idea. And almost immediately, it felt like almost immediately Trump came to his defense, right? Trump invited Elon to the White House. I mean, he already got an office there because it's his White House. He's the boss. He's the president. But Trump told Elon, hey, bring a bunch of Teslas, park them out front of the White House. We'll do a dealership commercial. This man got in the Tesla. Trump got in the Tesla, was like, everything's computer. Which is not wrong. It's not wrong. I remember my first Tesla experience. You know, I didn't ride in a Tesla for a long time. I heard about it as a car, but I didn't get to be in one, and I don't drive, so I didn't try to drive one or anything. And my first Tesla that I ever got in was an Uber. And so when I walked up, I didn't know about the door. I didn't know the door would be all smooth like that. So this is me. Look, I'm admitting for a second. I'm being vulnerable here. I'm admitting for a second that this is me. This is my bad. I was doing too much in my head. I was doing too much, all right? Know that I know that before I even admit this to you. I was doing too much, right? But when I walked up to the Tesla, I thought my driver sucked the door in because I was black. And I was standing there like never in all my days have I seen this type of racism. I was fierce. It was all smooth and everything. And so finally, driver noticed I'm not getting in the car, so he rolled down the window. I lean over all indignant like... And then he started explaining how to open it. I was like, what do you mean you gotta push to pull? That doesn't even make sense. And then I get it with my thumb and I was like, oh. Oh, okay. Got in the Uber, we took off. And this is the thing with the gig economy jobs, right? Is that, how do I put this? There's a social contract we have not written yet on like how much this is like your property versus my time versus our experience, right? And so when I get in an Uber, I'm very respectful of the fact that this person's car. This isn't my car, right? I'm not renting it so it can be my car for a little while. And we're sharing this time together, but it is my time that I'm paying for, so that's what makes me the customer, you know? So I try to not make any waves. I get in an Uber and I'm just like whatever they need to do. Sometimes there are people who start driving Uber very, very early, so they're tired. And so they got to blast themselves with cold air. They have to have their window down. And I'm like, I'd rather that than us die warm. You know what I mean? So I don't say anything. I'm like, I'll just be uncomfortable on the way to the airport because that's what's keeping this man awake. And this is the person that showed up to drive me, right? So I almost never say anything. It's a very big deal for me to even try to say anything. And I go ahead and I do it, though. I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm not like, I usually don't do this or anything. But you know, I leaned over to him and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. But could you please, like, touch the wheel? Like... No, I know it's autopilot. I know it's autopilot. You put it in and everything. I just don't know what I'm paying for if we going. Like if we, like I'm not telling you how to drive. I'm telling you to drive. Like it would be nice if you did drive. Like, just put a finger up. Make me believe. Just put a finger. And so you see all of these attacks on Tesla increasing, and the stock price dips and dips and dips. And it goes up a little bit. Every once in a while it goes up because there's some people who don't care about any of this at all, and they see it as an opportunity to buy low. And so it'll go up a little bit, maybe like 3-4% here, and then it drops a little bit more, and it's down from its high by a lot. And you've even seen people like... in the Trump administration come out and say, hey, if you vandalize a Tesla, we're treating it as domestic terrorism. We're coming for you if you touch a Tesla, right? And it's just baffling because everything that Trump is doing for Elon and everything that his administration is doing for Tesla is exactly what they were supposed to do for the voters. You know what I mean? Like Trump saw that his boy was having a little dip, was like a little bit more broke than he was the day before. He was like, let me help you out. You know what I mean? That felt like a campaign promise that I thought he made to everybody, but apparently he was just talking to 3 people. And even going after people who vandalize a Tesla as domestic terrorism. Like, when do we ever talk about domestic terrorism? You know how much domestic terrorism we have? It's a lot. And then you see Elon go on the news, and genuinely he seems like really upset, like genuinely hurt. And I think it's because, look, he's still the richest man in the world, but he used to be the richest man in the world by a larger margin. Like, he has lost billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? And he's so affected by it. And I think that maybe he's so affected by it because when these things are such a part of your life, they do become your identity. Maybe being richest man in the world, maybe being seen as this, like, this business guru, this scientific mind, all that stuff crumbles away when the people are not with you, when the people can't stand you, when you've angered them, when they don't want to have anything to do with you, And he sees the destruction, he sees the people turning on him, and he seems genuinely upset. And I don't think his feelings are hurt because some people are mad at him. He's never going to meet these people. I think that when you attach so much of your self-worth to this money and this status, this influence and this power, even the prospect of losing it can rattle you deep down, right? To your core as a person. And it looks like he's about to cry on the news when he's talking about, I don't know what I did to deserve this. It's like... And look, I'm glad he said that to a camera by himself and not, like, to a veteran's face. Like, he didn't really get that. The dude on Fox was like, you've done nothing to deserve this. You're a true patriot, whatever he said. And, I was sitting here watching Elon get genuinely sad. And I was like, oh... My heart goes out to you.
Please give a warm Kansas City welcome to Josh Johnson, everybody.
I've been reading a lot of history lately. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it's such a fraught time. Feels better to read history just to be reminded, like, oh, that was worse. And you also get a real sense of yourself from reading about the past. You see the mistakes people made, so hopefully you don't make them and everything. And I was reading a lot about Juneteenth because Juneteenth is coming up, and admittedly, I learned about Juneteenth pretty young, And I can tell from the scattered clapter that a lot of you don't necessarily celebrate Juneteenth. I'll put you on game real quick. This is the thing. I was reading about it because it's probably one of the most fascinating times in American history to me, because it was like the fulfillment of a promise in a way. America is a place for freedom, and it's a place for understanding yourself and building out an identity to be free with, right? And it's something that we were founded on, but it's something that took a long time to come to fruition, And Juneteenth, by the way, is not a number that black people made up. That I understand it does kind of sound like that as well. Like, Juneteenth is a holiday, just so y'all know. Because sometimes, as black people, we do make up numbers. If you know a black person, especially in the South, you've probably heard them say 5011. And 5011 is, I want to be clear, not 5011. It's also not 5011s. It's just our way of saying too many. You know, you'll hear somebody be like, I told you 11 times, take out that trash. And you know that a child is about to be whooped. You know? Or somebody will be like, he got 11 baby mamas, and you'll be like, he is a slut. Now, they'll be like, oh, he think he's somebody because he got like $11, something like that, which is just their way of saying a lot. But it would be better to say the actual amount. Which reminds me, okay, this is digressing for a second, but it was very funny to me. One time, a dude from my hometown won the lottery, and he was calling everybody, telling them that he won the lottery, but he didn't win the Powerball. He just won some money, and so he was bragging, but he did. So basically, okay. Because he told me he told me he did this, but then he told me how much he made. I was like, you shouldn't have called anybody. That's not a stranger phone call flex amount of money. That I get that you won, I'm happy for you, but that's not the amount to be sending people off with. Because he called his ex and he was like, hey, looks like you fucked up because I just won the lottery, all right? You looking at the winner of $60,000. And I was like, that's salary. Like, don't do this. After taxes, that is $30,000, sir. No, but, you know, Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday to commemorate the slaves in Galveston, Texas, being told of their freedom and it being made official, right? And the weird thing is there's a lot of misconceptions about when slavery actually ended. Because a lot of people think it ended in 1863 with Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation. But the thing with that is that the southern states had already seceded. So to sign the Emancipation Proclamation and then send it and be like, y'all have to let your slaves go, but this is now another technically country that you are at war with because they wanted to leave the Union. That would be like if Canada was like, America, y'all need to recycle more. And then we were like, if you don't shut your maple ass up. Like, that's like... Because the South was at war with the North, this was to, you know, hurt the southern states that had slavery. And one of the states was actually left off of the Emancipation Proclamation because they had already taken control of it, you know? And it said nothing about any sort of slavery that was happening on the northern side. Like, the northern side isn't known for slavery, but there were people in the North who had slaves, right? And so then, 1864... I believe it was the Senate that passed it, and then the House passed it in 1865. And then they told everybody later. Really dragged their heels with that one. And this is the thing, is that if you really want to be technical with it, slavery wasn't actually abolished until the very end of 1865, like December 6th or something like that. It's just that Juneteenth, it's easy to barbecue in the summer. So we just take that one, you know. But it is a fascinating time in America because it was America fulfilling a promise that it made to itself since its inception, and so many people fought it. That's what's so crazy. Like, America was about to be everything that it was supposed to be, and then there were people that were, you know, standing in the way. And the thing that is, like, the fight for freedom in America, for every person, right? Because every person, no matter who you are, your ancestors had to fight for some form of freedom to be here. Everyone from every ethnicity, everyone from every background, you know, has had some sort of fight to get where they are now. Even the people who can trace their lineage back to the Mayflower, America still had to have a fight to be America. You know, we started out as traitors to Britain, according to them. You know, we were like, nah, we're going to do our own thing. We're not sending you anything else. You know, we pay taxes to you. Y'all don't even come over here. We like coffee better anyway. And this is the thing, though, is that you look at that time, and for every war that America had to fight to be America, to become America, the way that we understand it now, black people fought in those wars. You know, it's not talked about as often, but there were black people that fought in the American Revolution. There were black people that were fighting right alongside other white people in other regiments. Not every regiment was even fully segregated. And, you know, part of it was the desperation. We're fighting for our existence as a country, you know? And then we win, and then the founding fathers, everybody's like, yeah, we're free. And black people were like, yeah, we're free. And then they were like, what do you mean we? No? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that an insane feeling? You fight for the place to become the place, and you don't get to be part of the place yet. And then, you know, all the way up to the Civil War, for us to have a truly, deeply imperfect union, there was this battle that took place, and there were black people that fought on both sides of the Civil War, which is confusing. You know what I mean? Because the white soldiers, you can kind of see where they stand and why they stand there. But any black soldier fighting in the Confederacy, you are kind of like, what? 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 And I don't think anyone would have been more confused than a black Union soldier, because then if they meet in the battlefield, he's like, turn around. Now, it's important to understand that whether it was the American Revolution or whether it was the Civil War, on both sides, black people fought for promises. The same way that America made a promise to itself, it also made promises to every people of every nation that would come here, right? It's why people come from Ireland, from Italy, from all these places that immigrated, that came to Ellis Island. They came for that promise, and that was a promise that was also made to the black people that were already here. You'll be part of America, right? And so in some weird way, sometimes it was due to the threat of death, sometimes it was just to get off the plantation, sometimes it was with the promise of freedom. There were black people that fought in the Confederacy, you know? And I'm pretty sure they didn't try that hard. You know what I mean? Like, if I was a black officer, I mean, I wouldn't have been an officer. I guess a black soldier in the Confederacy, I think when I shoot, I'd be like, oops. I miss. I hope he doesn't get over here and free everybody. That'd be terrible if they just ran up on us and started being like, you free, you free, you free. You know what I mean? Like, I would hate to get shot with freedom. You know what I mean? I've heard it's terrible, you know? But yeah, and then, you know, Juneteenth started out as just a holiday in Texas because it was about what happened in Texas. It spread to other states, you know? Other states that ratified the 13th Amendment would then, you know, have more and more black people in those states wanting to celebrate Juneteenth. And once again, kept it Juneteenth not because of when it was ratified in the state, because sometimes it was a different year, sometimes it was a different time of year, but June is good for barbecuing, right? But it was probably one of the most awkward times in America, because all of a sudden this thing had happened. There were people who made their whole way of life out of the terrible treatment of other people they didn't see as people. And don't be weird. I'm not saying that these were your slaves or something. Don't tighten up on me, okay? Everyone I'm talking about is dead, all right? Don't be weird. But this is my thing. I guess this is what I come back to. It's that time, how that happened, right? You know, I just imagine what would it be like in a household that had slaves, and now they're arguing. They're arguing in the kitchen or something. You know, the couple that own the plantation. She's just like, Bo, what do we do? It's illegal now. We can't. It's illegal. We can't do this anymore, Bo. It's illegal. He's like, what do you want me to do, Barbara Jean? What do you want me to do? You want me to go out there and be like, oops? What do you want me to do? What's the plan here, okay? All right, because we are outnumbered. Gonna have to handle this delicately, you know? And you had to handle it delicately because for the entire time that you owned people, you know, how'd you treat them? How'd you treat these people? Because they are people. How'd you treat these people who can see you now, who can speak to you? What'd you do? You know? Did you commit some of the most heinous crimes of all time? Because at best, you never said please or thank you. So you're reasonably terrified now that they can, you know, so they're just arguing in the kitchen, I imagine, just like, what do you want me to do? What's this? And then somebody who worked in the house overheard the argument and was like, we're free? I'm gonna let this marinate on the stove. I'll be right back, I promise. I'll be right back. You know? Because what would that have been like? What would that have been like, the secret message going from house to house? You know, we already had passageways for communication and passageways to escape slavery through the Underground Railroad. This message was getting around, right? We're free, we're free, we're free, we're free, we're free, we're free, right? So now someone in the house comes outside to the field and they're like, hey, y'all, I don't know how to tell you. Okay, I didn't think what I was about to say before I just sort of said, hey, and then, okay, I didn't prepare a speech or anything. Look, I know that we don't all talk much. Because I'm in there, y'all out here. And I hear what y'all say about me. It's hurtful. It like y'all yell it, so I, you know what I mean? Like but we're free. We're free to go. And then everybody was probably like, free to go where? You know what I mean? Because this is the thing about the 13th Amendment that is mind-blowing. It abolished slavery except in the case of the prison, right? And the practices that you could constitute as slavery continued way after slavery. There was sharecropping. There were all of these different little systems to keep slavery intact. It's why we have unpaid internships, you know? Someone's like, but I'm white. Yes, even you. No. Just imagine that. Imagine someone tell you, hey, we're free. Because what would freedom feel like? You wouldn't know. No? And free to go where? Free to go kill them? I'm just joking. That would be fair. No, it's just it's mind blowing to me because One of my friends, I grew up in Louisiana, so I knew about Juneteenth being so close to Texas, and it was celebrated in Louisiana from a young age. A lot of people try to act like they always celebrate it now, everyone's embarrassed to learn something. You know what I mean? Like, it's a true thing. You see people in New York that are like, oh yeah, Juneteenth every year for Juneteenth. I'm like, all right, maybe, but all right. You know what I mean? But I had a friend down south. He's white, and he took like an ancestry lineage thing, and he did the 23andMe. And a lot of my white friends did the 23andMe and just so you know, just as white people, so you know, your black friends, we don't care. We don't we don't care at all. Like, oh, you're more Swedish than Finnish. We don't. Never crosses our mind. We never, you know what I mean? Just so you know. And I truly, a lot of people that take the test, I don't think they care either. If I'm being honest with you, we're just talking as friends right now. I don't think they care. I think they even take the test just to see if they can say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, they take the test, because anytime one of your white friends is like, hey, I'm actually 5% black. You're like, all right. Why are you? I don't know. I just wanted to know if I could sing the whole song now. I'm just a Kendrick fan, and I wanted to, see if I could. No, but he did the ancestry thing, and he did the DNA test, and he found through both that his family never, in America for a huge portion of his lineage, but they never owned or worked with anyone who operated in a way. They never owned slaves. And if you've never watched the white guilt leave somebody's body, this man was floating. This man was floating in waves. Just like, I'm too Irish to be bad.
Mira.